So today we're going to be talking about the Procare Parent Engagement app. What we're currently viewing on the Parent Engagement app, this is the home screen. With the Parent Engagement app, it is receiving all the student and parent data directly from Procare Desktop. That's automatically syncing over here. If you click on a student's name, that's going to bring up what activities have been previously logged. We can also see their profile information. It is important to note that allergies and immunizations are not syncing to this app, so you will continue to track that information back on Procare Desktop. The app will be used to send out communications, log activities, and generally track where the kids are throughout the day. We'll also look at how to use the app to send out communications, such as messages, and also how to reach out to our support team. In the upper left corner, we're going to see these three lines. This is going to open up our menu. When we click those three lines, we're going to see this menu appear. There's the home button where we were previously. We'll see Getting Started, which we are not going to click on at this time, nor the staff messages. Below that, we are going to see the live sign-in feed, and that's going to show us if we have any students who are actively signed in, so what room they're signed into, as well as who's actively signed out as well. So that way we can get a live feed of who's physically in the building. Going back to the menu, we're also going to see a button right below the live feed for My School. At the top of the My School section, we're going to see a quick count, so how many rooms are in the system, how many parents have their information already automatically synced to Parent Engage, the count of your students, and also how many staff profiles are in the system. Please disregard the invite to parents as well as the invite to staff buttons. We are not going to use those at this time. If you wish to click School Profile, that is going to bring up the school profile information. It is important that we do not change anything here. Finally, the last two options we'll see are School Settings, which we are not going to touch because we do not want to make adjustments there, as well as we'll see the ability to switch schools. So if your profile was connected to multiple sites, it shouldn't be, but if it was, you'll be able to use that button to switch between the two. But in this case, we're not going to touch that as well. Let's hit the back arrow in the upper left corner and go back to the menu. I'm going to see a final button here at the bottom called Help and Support. This is where you can go for assistance. So if I click the Help and Support button, I'm going to see the first option there is our Help Center. Clicking that button will open up articles, videos, tutorials, resources on how to do and use everything within the app. So if you're not sure, there probably is an article for that. You can either search for articles, or if you scroll down the list, you'll see different sections that go into detail on how to use that system, or that part of the system. And let's hit Done at the top of the page to close this out. So if you click right here, Contact Customer Service, that will open up a chat box so that we can communicate with our support team. It is important that if you do encounter any issues that you still report those to your school management so that way they can be aware of anything that's going on. Finally, we'll just see About, which is just going to give us information on the privacy policy and what version of the software is currently installed on that device. Once more, we're going to hit the back button in the upper left corner and return all the way to the menu, and simply click the Home button to return us back to the home screen. You will notice at the top of the app, you will see the room name listed. In my case, I'm currently viewing all rooms at one time, so that way I can see all my students listed in one page. If you click where it has the room name, it's going to bring up a list of all the rooms in the system. That way you can filter for the room that you are logged into. It is very important to make sure that the room selected matches the staff profile on the iPad that you're using. So make sure the room, the staff account, that shows on the iPad in your area is all the same. So that way you're viewing your correct list of students. You are going to see tags listed at the top of the page, but at this time we are not going to use those. We're just going to focus on the rooms. As we scroll down, we're going to disregard the add new button, or add new room button, because again, the rooms are automatically syncing over from the desktop. So there's no need for us to click new room, because if we did have to update this list, it's going to be done on the original Procare software. So that way we can make sure both systems have matching information. Now, an important filter to be aware of is right here. It's called Show Only Signed In Students. So that way, if you'd like to just see who's actively signed in your room, you can click that button and it will filter out any students who are not actively signed into your classroom. So that way, if you just want to make sure when you're logging activities or sending messages, you're only seeing actively signed in students, this filter appears at the very bottom of the list. When you're done with it, just make sure to click the room name at the top of the page and uncheck Show Only Signed In Students, so that way you can once more see your entire classroom roster. And we're going to hit X at the top of the page to close out. Before continuing to the student profile information, I do want to mention you will see an icon in the upper right corner. We're not going to use this button. What it's typically used for is to add additional students to the system. But again, because the student profile information is syncing over directly from the desktop, this button will not be available on the app. If we do have to add additional students or update the student information again, we're going to do that back on the desktop. Let's go ahead and look at how to update and add activities to each student. If we look at the bottom of the screen, in the toolbar, there's an activity button. When we bring up this page, it will show the different activities that we can log. The first activity that we can add are photos. I'll go ahead and allow Angie to explain the photo activity and what the expectations are there.
So you'll add a photo just by taking your photo and selecting the students you'd like it to go on to. We want to have about 3 pictures per day for each full-time child. These photos can include group photos, but please be mindful that all children receive roughly the same amount of updates and photos throughout the app each day.
Perfect. Thank you, Angie. Once you guys are done adding your photos, go ahead and just click Add Activity. And that way that can count that photo for the minimum 3 photos per day for the full day students. To review the photos that have been sent, it's just as easy as clicking on the child's name, and that will bring up the photo that was released on their activity feed that's visible. Let's go ahead and go back to the Activity Center, again here on the toolbar. We will see a video activity here, but however, we're not going to use that activity at this time. So let's go ahead and continue over to the learning activity. Like with any activity, when we click learning, we're going to select which student or students that we're logging this for. We'll simply hit next, and that will show us the learning activity. We're able to click the different activity names. My account's going to look slightly different than what yours will look like. And there will also be categories there. Once we selected the activity name and category, we can continue from there to update a description. And again, if we want to include any photos, we can do so there as well. And once we're done updating all this, we'll just hit Add Activity once more, and that will update the child's activity feed. Again, I'm going to go ahead and go back to Angie with some expectations on using the learning activity.
So you should plan to add activities such as group time, small groups, art activities, and any other things you would usually document. Please be sure that you're adding at least 1 morning and 1 afternoon activity in addition to your morning group time and meals and things of that sort.
Perfect. Thank you. Let's go ahead and exit out of that learning activity, and we're going to continue through our activities looking at the meal activity next. To log your meals, we're simply going to click the meal activity. Again, we're going to see the students listed, so we can select one student, we can select multiple as needed. Once more, hitting next once we're done. We will see at the very top, it will ask us to select the meal type. How much of the meal did the child eat? So most, all, some, none. And simply hit the checkbox when you're done. From there, you'll see the date and time. With any of these activities, it is important to mention you can adjust the time as needed. So if you weren't able to log it in that very moment, you can always change the time to backdate it if needed. We will once more see that description box there. So we can click either type out the description, or we will see a plate icon that we can click right next to the camera. And that's going to bring up some meal items that we can utilize. So if we just want to do some quick touches on what's being eaten, or we'll also see a daily plan if there was a menu created. That way we can select from there as well and automatically populate the description box. Once that is added, we're going to simply click Add Activity, and that will update the child's activity feed once more. Let's go ahead and continue to the nap activity. Now this activity is going to have two parts in how you log it, and it is very important that you do so. Now, when I first click the nap activity, again, I'm going to go ahead and select the child or children I'm logging it for. In this case, I'm going to log this activity for Alexander and hit next. Now what you'll see here is it will have the start time highlighted. This is so I can enter Alexander into his nap. Please leave the end time blank for this moment. Again, I can always adjust the start time as needed and hit the checkbox. You will see a button here to remind me again. So that way, if I need a reminder of when the nap time is going to be ended, so let's say, or when I need to log it again. So let's say in this case, I'm just going to set it for 30 minutes. That's going to send a push notification to my iPad. So that way I know to log back into the nap activity and relog it. If I want to include a description, I can, as well as click the camera icon. Maybe if they look cute while they're resting, that is an option. Finally, we're just going to click Add Activity, and that's going to update Alexander's profile. Since we've added the nap with just the start time, we're going to see these yellow Z's appear above his photo. So that way, at quick glance, we know that Alexander is currently taking a nap. In order to complete the nap and to clear off the Z's, we're going to go back to the Activity Center and click the nap activity once more. Again, we see Alexander with the Z's, so I'm going to click his name and simply hit the next button. Since I'm ending his nap, we'll see it in reverse where the end time is highlighted, but the start time is blank. Please leave the start time blank and just click on the end time to adjust his nap as needed. Once more, if I do want to add another reminder, I can, or I can update the description. In any case, I'm just going to add that activity after I adjust the end time and hit Add Activity. We will now see when we go back to the home page that Alexander's profile no longer has that yellow Z symbol above his photo. Again, I'm going to go ahead and throw it back to Angie with some expectations for this activity.
So please try to be as accurate as possible with nap times. If a child does not nap, you can enter that they rested quietly for 30 minutes by using the learning activity icon and creating an activity titled Rested Quietly.
Perfect. Let's go and continue on. We're also going to see the bathroom activity here. And once more, let's go ahead and select a student or multiple students if need be, but we're going to select Alexander for right now. With this activity, you'll see all these different options here. So we'll see bathroom type at the top, so diaper or potty. We can also select the type as well. So in this case, since I selected potty, I can say pee, BM, bowel movement, or tried. If we go back to diaper, we'll see the options change. So that way we can add in diaper type, diaper size, and was diaper cream applied. So there are going to be differences depending on the type that you select. Again, description if need be, and simply add that activity once you're done. If need be, you'll see on the bathroom activity, there's also a timer here. Once we enable it, we can set the timer to be a reminder. So if maybe we need to check again to make sure someone needs to go to the restroom and we just want a reminder to pop up on the iPad, we can set that in place and simply add the activity. And there are a few expectations with using this activity. I'll go ahead and let Angie explain that.
So as you saw, this activity will be used to document both toileting and diapering. Once a child is fully potty trained, you do not need to document the toileting times unless requested by a parent.
Let's go ahead and move on to the next activity. We're also going to talk about bottles right now. So if we go ahead and click the bottle activity, again, once more, selecting the student and hitting next. This activity is going to ask you to add how many ounces, ask you to add the time, and again, just like the last two, we will also see the timer here. So again, just setting a reminder if we need to log this activity again in the near future. So that way, if we want a timer set, we can set that and just add our description from there. Once we're done filling this out or including photos, we can click Add Activity, and that once more will update the child's activity feed. A few more expectations are needed to know regarding the bottle activity.
So you'll notice that there isn't the option to choose whether it was a formula or breast milk bottle. So we are going to ask that you add that detail into the description box. Also, the parents will need to verbally communicate or send a message to let you know when their last bottle or diaper was when they drop off. Parents are not able to input this information into the app.
As we continue down this list, we are going to see a mood activity. However, we're not going to use that activity at this time. And we'll go ahead and continue to the meds activity. When we open the medication activity, again, I'm going to go ahead and select my student and simply hit next. With this activity, you'll be able to adjust the time as need be at the top. Once more, if we need to set a reminder for when medication needs to be taken again, we can do that right at the top of the screen. The last section is just adding a description. Go ahead and hit Add Activity once we're done, and that will update the child's activity feed. Again, there are some expectations when logging the medication activity.
Per our medication administration policy, we want to make sure that management or a lead teacher in the classroom is the one to be documenting this. Please be mindful of spelling the medicine correctly and documenting the dosage within the description box.
Let's go ahead and move on. After medication, we're also going to see the note activity here. The note activity looks really similar to the medications. So when we go ahead and select our students and hit next, we'll simply just see a time and a description box. Once we add a description or a photo, again, we'll see the ability to simply add that activity to update the child's activity feed. Again, there is a clear expectation when using the note activity. I'll go ahead and let Angie explain that.
We would like to use the note activity for communicating needs such as diapers, extra clothes, etc.
Perfect. Continuing forward, again, we're going to see an incident activity. And just like the mood one that's right above it, at this time we are not going to use that activity. So go ahead and ignore this one and we'll continue to name the face. Once more, I'm going to select the child and hit next. The name to face activity is one that allows you to do checks. As I click the check type, I'll see spot checks, not checks, diaper checks, health checks, and others. For example, if I do a health check, I can use it, for my example, not necessarily yours, as a way to check their temperature or to log a health need. What's important to note about this activity is that it is always only visible to staff. Your parents are not going to be able to see the checks that you do log here. Only staff can see these. As I do this, I'm just going to hit Add Activity again to log it. Once more, I'm going to go back to Angie to explain some expectations with using the Name to Face activity.
So the Name to Face activity is going to be a new process that you will be expected to do every time you leave or enter your classroom. You should still be using your transition ropes and following the count protocol. Remember, the N stands for Name to Face. You may use the spot check every time you use this feature. And please remember, it should be used every time you leave and then re-enter your classroom.
We're going to see one more activity here. It's the observation activity. At this time, this activity is also not going to be used, as you guys will continue using Teaching Strategies Gold. Now, I do want to mention it is important to note with most of these activities, as you log them, I'm going to use my note one just real quickly. You are going to see a button in each one of these beyond the Name to Face activity. But in every other activity, you'll see a visible only to staff. If you do select this button, it just means that you are hiding that activity from the parent view and it won't update for them on their child's activity feed. But as staff, you will still be able to see that activity listed. If you ever need to double check what activities have been listed for your students, you're simply going to click on the student's name, and again, we'll see all past activities that have been logged. There is a calendar as well as a funnel icon, so if you want to filter for specific activities, you have the ability to do so. Now I'm going to go back to the main page. At the bottom of the screen, we are going to see some options here. At this time, we're not going to click the sign in or out button because the guardians or the authorized pickups are going to check the children in themselves. So at this time, you don't have to open that up on your device since they will do that through another method. We also will not use the billing button that's here. Your account will not have access to it, although it is visible. But when we go pull it up, nothing will appear. So at this time, just disregard that button that does show. Other buttons that you are going to see, there's a calendar button as well as messages. Messages are a way to send communications directly from you to the parents that are in the system. When I click the parent button, I'm going to see all the children listed off. So that way I can read their threads to see what has been previously sent and communicated at any time. When I'm ready to send a message, I will simply click the pencil icon in the bottom right corner, and I'll see my students appear. If I need to send a message in bulk, I will select multiple students, or if I just need to send a message to an individual family, I'll simply click one. In this case, we'll continue to use Alexander's profile and hit next. We will go ahead and write out our message. You are going to see an option to change the type at the top of the page, but please at this time do not select the alert option. We are just going to use message as our choice. We'll hit send to continue, and that's going to send the message from me to Alexander's thread. So that way if I want to click on his name, that's going to show me what has been previously sent between Alexander, from myself as staff to Alexander's family. Now, I do want to make it very important and clear, or make it very clear, how the messaging works for your families. Anyone who's listed as a parent or guardian on the student profile, they're both going to be able to see each other's messages and the staff messaging all in one thread. However, your parents do have the option within their parent profiles to set their own communication statuses. If I click the back button and go back to my student page, I'll see above Emma's name here that there's a red circle with an eye icon above her photo. That's letting me know that Emma's parents have opted into separating their messages from their own app. So when I click on Emma's name, I'm going to see David has his own thread, while Chastity has her own. That way, if I need to send a message to a specific family member in this family group, I'm going to click on the student's name and click on the parent's name who I need to communicate directly to. So if I select Chastity's name, I'll just type the message there, or with David, I'll click his name and send the message to him directly. With any families that are split, please note that if you use the pencil icon as a way to send communication, it will send it to both parents, although in their separate threads. So that way, when they respond, it will be private still from one another. If you do, again, need to communicate with them individually, then it would be best to go into the actual thread and do so. Once more, there are a few expectations that you guys need to be aware of, so I'll go ahead and let Angie speak.
Please remember that when you're sending messages, we don't want information regarding an accident, behavior guidance issues, or illness to be communicated through the app. Those should always be communicated through a phone call or in person at pickup.
Perfect. So once we're done with messaging, we're just going to hit the X symbol and go back to our main menu. So back to the main menu, when mentioned earlier regarding the sign-in button, what we meant to mention is we're not going to use the attendance button in this case of you taking the attendance to sign the students in. The parents are going to do that themselves. How we're going to have the parents sign the students in or out is using the parent kiosk here on the right side of the page. We'll simply click that and bring it up. The first screen that comes up is just an option for the parents. How this is going to look is the parents will select their student's name and photo and go ahead and sign their student in that way. The other option we have is in the upper right corner. There's a square icon. That's going to bring up our parent kiosk screen that the parents can use to sign their students in or out for the day as needed. Now, there are multiple ways for the parents to sign their students in or out. One way is using our contactless method, which is the QR scan. So built into the parent app for Procare, they will have a QR scanner that they'll open within the app. They're just going to hold their phone above this QR code, either on a phone, or it can also be printed off. Once the parents scan the QR kiosk on their own device, it will then show them the next step to signing in their students. Below that, we will also see a PIN number. This is available for if the parents maybe forget their phone or if it dies before they arrive to the center, so that way they still have a way to sign their child in or out when the contactless option is not available. They're just going to enter their PIN number or again scan the QR code. The steps will always look the same, no matter what method they're using, contactless or PIN. Again, the only difference is when I'm scanning the QR code, these steps are going to show up on the parent's own device. They'll go ahead and select their students that they're signing in and hit sign in. Now my step 2 is going to look slightly different than yours, and that my question may appear differently. In any case, your parents are going to answer a parent kiosk question. They're going to hit submit, and once they're done answering those questions, the last step is just giving a quick signature and clicking done. And now the children are signed in, and you should see them highlighted with the green signed in symbol. So that way when you're looking at their names, you can easily tell who is actively signed in or not. All right, so that was it for today's training session. That was the overview of best practices when using the app. If you do have questions, please reach out to your school's management so that way they can help guide you with the best practices moving forward. And again, if you do ever need any support, if you run into technical issues or just have any quick questions, once more, we're just going to click the 3 lines in the upper left corner. and go to the Help and Support Center at the bottom. We'll see all our Help Center as well as the ability to contact customer support as needed. If you have any questions, please let your school management know, and they are there to help support. Thank you and have a great day.